Let move to the today's agenda. In the day one, the today's agenda is standard creation of standard invoice and how to create prepayment invoice process. Then we will create an invoice through spreadsheet using ADFDI spreadsheet. Right, so let's take a use case scenario. So before that, the user should have following payables predefined roles. You can customize accordingly, but I have used the Oracle seeded, or you can say a predefined roles. These roles are accounts payable manager, accounts payable specialist, accounts payable supervisor, and then accounts payable invoice supervisor. So accounts payable invoice supervisor is an individual responsible for creating accounts payable invoices, whereas the accounts payable supervisor oversees the activity of accounts payable specialist, initiates and manages the pay run and resolve known data entry holds, whereas the accounts payable specialist enters the invoices, ensuring the accuracy and uniqueness and completeness, match invoices to correct purchase order or receipts, ensures that invoices complies with the company policy. And in case of accounts payable manager, his responsibility is to manage the accounts payables department and personnel and override the exceptions, analyze the Oracle Fusion payables balances, and submit income tax and withholding reports to meet regulatory requirements. So these roles I have provided to the user, my user, right? So let's move to the next slide. So these are roles I have already provided. So the use case, as you see, first use case, as per business requirement, the bulk purchase of computer from the computer world wide system. I have used the Dell system out here and wants to pay a vendor an advance of $15,000, right? So that is the use case out here. And after that, we will create a standard invoice as a prepayment invoice. Out here we can't process the payment without creating a invoices, right? So that is the prepayment invoice we will create. Prepayment invoice is nothing as an advance to a vendor or a supplier, you can say. And as the invoice, standard invoice received from the supplier or a vendor, we had to apply that prepayment invoice or say advance to a vendor or supplier to that invoice, right? So that is we will do in the application in today's demonstration, right? So after that we will create a invoice through spreadsheet. The requirement of business requirement is they want a fixed monthly water charges to be booked through ADFDI sheets. So we will do that also. So let us move to the next slide also. So these are the requirement the gathering we have done. So that is BISP Solutions and accounts payable in the site 2, and 3 requirements they have provided. So that is the we as a use case we have taken this thing. So let us move to the next, what prepayment invoice process requires, right? So creating a prepayment invoice. To create prepayment invoice, specify in invoice type as prepayment. Allow the payment application option indicates that prepayment is available for application classification. The prepayment as a temporary, for example, of a temporary prepayment is in a catering deposit to a hotel. Whether the invoice from hotel arrives, you apply the prepayment to the invoice to reduce the invoice amount due. Right, so if you disable the allow prepayment application option, you can apply the prepayment and prepayment classification as a permanent. As an example of a prepayment is a lease deposit for which you don't expect to receive any invoice. Applying a prepayment. When you apply a prepayment, the invoices is updated to reflect the amount paid and prepayment amount available for application is deducted. A prepayment application lines with the corresponding distribution is added to the invoice. Applying prepayment can either be inclusive or exclusive. A supplier might send you an invoice that reference to a prepayment. The prepayment is inclusive if the supplier reduces the invoice amount by prepayment and associated tax. You can designate a prepayment as a inclusive by selecting included on invoice option. Whether applying the prepayment. When you apply the exclusive prepayment to an invoice, the unpaid invoice amount is deducted by amount of prepayment application. If a prepayment is matched to a purchase order, the purchase order quantity are updated during the prepayment application, and you can prepayment in a currency that different from the invoice currency. If you choose to do so, you must ensure the invoice is invoiced and prepayment have same currency. For example, consider the payable documentation. Right, so that is the prepayment, and you can apply the prepayment to both invoices, payable documents. Right, so let us see the prepayment selection. You should select immediate as a payment terms and enable the show available prepayment during the invoice entry. That is in manage invoice options, and then in the create invoice page, which includes in invoice header, select the type as prepayment and enable allow prepayment application. And the distribution combination populated from supplier side or common option for payables and procurement. This distribution combination is populated by using or either from supplier side. First it will search from supplier side, and if it is not available in that supplier side, then the common option for payables and procurement will pick the account combinations, the distribution combinations, right? And in the invoice actions, we will validate the invoice. It's a very must. And pay in full. That is where if you pay that invoice, then only the validate status will be available for apply to the standard invoice, right? So that is you have to pay that invoice, then only it will be available, right? So let us navigate to the application and see how the prepayment invoice process are performed. So first we will navigate to the manage invoice option to see that payment terms is immediate and enable of available prepayment during the invoice entry, right? So we will navigate to that. I'm logging with the one of the user, that is Casey Brown. Let us navigate to setup and maintenance. Select the functional as financial, setup scope as financials, and select with, as we had discussed, manage invoice options, right? So that is the task name. That is the invoice option. This is BU specific. My BU is BISP Solution Miami. I am using that business unit. So if you go scroll down, here we are, the prepayment, and the payment terms should be immediate, right? And you should check mark this show available prepayment during the invoice entry. So that I have enabled that, and this is the prerequisite for when you are able to see the prepayment invoice while applying to the standard invoice, right? So that is the pre-requirement. Now we will create a invoice, that is prepayment invoice, in the application. So let us navigate from the navigator. In the payables invoice workbench, from task panel, select create invoice. And I will select as Dell, right? So I will select one of the supplier I have configured, that is Dell, and supplier set is Dell US Texas, right? So that is the, and I will provide prepayment invoice number, say 1001, right? So I am providing the amount, show more. So I will select that amount as $10,000. Sorry, in that case it's $15,000, right? So payment currency might be a different, you can select a different payment currency, right? So invoice should be also in USD, then only you are able to apply the, but you can do the prepayment in different currency, right? So that is one of the things. I'm using the same currency, and the type I will select out here. You can see the standard invoice is there: prepayment, debit note, credit note, and retainage release. We will first select the prepayment invoice of 15,000, that is advance for computer, I will say, right? So that is the advance for computer system, right? So, and term should be immediate, right? And if I go to the lines, right? If I go to lines, you can see the distribution combination already selected, which is coming from my supplier side. That is, in the supplier side, I have provided that distribution combination, right? So that is the account combination. I will provide amount as 15,000 out here, right? So I will save the same. And in the accounting, you can see my distribution combination liability is also this, right? So my liability account is also according to that. And now if you see, the status is never validated. I will validate the invoice, right? So let us validate that. Validate that invoice. So you can see the status has been now changed to unpaid, right? So status is unpaid. Until unless you have paid that amount, that will be not available for applying to the invoice. So that is the must. The status is unpaid. Now we will make a payment towards that. So you can pay in full. From invoice action, you can pay in full that invoice. If you go to the manage installments, so you can see the method is electronic and the bank account has been mentioned out here. So just save and close, and I will pay in full. Select that pay in full. This is my bank account from which I am going to pay, right? So that is my only one bank account. And the payment process profile, the method is electronic. I am using this one, and I will make a payment, right? So the party's account number is this, right? So this is the remit to account, and the account of Dell Inc. is Wells Fargo Bank, and the branch is remit branch is this, right? So that is the supplier bank details, and submit the same. Now you can see the status has changed to available, as the payment has been done, has been created, and the status has been changed to available. Now you can apply this prepayment invoice to a manual invoice which you can create, or through spreadsheet you can create that. So let us create a manual invoice as per our use case. We will create a one manual invoice and apply that particular invoice with the prepayment. And how to do that in the application, so before that, I will say that while applying that prepayment, there is apply after, right? So allow prepayment application should be checked. If you don't check this particular checkbox, then it will be a permanent prepayment, and say is a permanent prepayment has been done, right? So that is the thing. Or say a security deposit you do through any department, so that can be a prepayment. So that as I taken the case of lease payment, where you pay amount on lease, in turn that you will never receive the amount, right? So that is the lease payment, is a permanent payment towards that, right? So, and apply after. If you check this, you can select that after when you can apply that particular advance amount. I has taken the same as the date I have immediately. If I get immediate invoice, I can apply against that. So that is my condition. Let us create a one invoice inclusive of prepayment, right? So let us create that. Let's save and close. So we have created a prepayment invoice and apply and paid that particular invoice in full, and now it is available. Now we will create one more invoice, that is, I will select as Dell Inc. The supplier should be the same, then only you will able to apply the prepayment invoice, which is a very must. And I receive the invoice now. Say I have received the invoice as Dell 1050, that is the Dell invoice, and say it's got $35,000, and that is the standard invoice. And now I put the description out here as computers. Right, so you can have selected as in the Dell as immediate payment terms. That's why you can change that particular terms. You can have a 21030, right? So you can change that particular terms, and the lines I will select the amount 35,000. I will, if you have provided the distribution set, then you can select the distribution set, but I had a one distribution set, but I will not use that. I will provide the detail out here, the distribution combination set. So let us provide the same. Just hold on. I will select and provide the account codes, that is computer. So computer and software, and the product I am saying out here as desktop, right? So that is the desktop is my product, and selecting the same. Other things are okay, right? So you can have the distribution, and I provided the same, and save the invoice. Now you can see the bell icon has been available for prepayment amount 15,000, right? As soon as I save, I have not validated, but still I am able to see the available prepayment invoice of 15,000 is there. So you can apply to that invoice. If you go apply, unapply prepayment, select that. So you can select the same, apply. You can apply partially or fully. I will apply the same fully, right? So I have applied the same, say done. And now I will, if you see in the status is not validated still, right? So that is, so status is not validated. Now I will validate the same. Now I am validating the same, right? So you can see the in item is 35,000 in the lines, and prepayment of 15,000 is reducing that balance. Now 20,000 net I have to pay, and out here the applied prepayment, you can see the 35,000 is there, and the applied amount is 15,000. So total invoice is 35,000, and prepayment I have made already, so 15,000. Net I have to pay is 20,000, right? So that's way you can validate, and you can manage installments. Go to the manage installments, you can view that the net pay amount, the in gross amount is this and unpaid amount is showing off, right? So that is where you can see the details, right? So that is the payments, right? So that, and save and close, and you can make the payment from here itself, right? So that is you can make the payments. So let us save and close. Let's move to the next agenda, and that is, so we have created an invoice and created invoice, save the invoice, and when invoice action, validating the invoice, the bell icon, when we save the invoice, the bell icon appears. We apply that prepayment, again validate the invoice, we can validate that, and that's way you can apply the prepayment invoice to the standard invoice process, right? So that is the process. Now let us move to the create invoice through spreadsheet, right? So that is the creating invoice using the spreadsheet. So let us navigate to the application, and so from the task panel, create invoice from spreadsheet. We'll select that and create invoice, save that. Open the scene. Just hold on. Some issues with that, just hold on. I will select, go to the properties. Yeah, that is the issue. So let us select that. Yeah. It's asking for credentials, select that. So log in with that credentials, say kc.brown, and I will just hold on. So you will select out here the business unit out here. So selection will be there. So let us select that BISP Solution Miami, and invoice is INV 002. That use case is related to water charges. Invoice 01 I will select, and the currency is in USD as per the use case, USD, and the invoice amount is $750, and the invoice date I will provide that is the invoice date. Let me select the supplier. That is when marketing. Here we are. Let's take a bit of time. There we are. The supplier site. Search with that. That's the supplier site. Let us take a payment and in INR. Let's select that. You can select the INR, or as per use case it is USD. We will select that as USD, and the invoice type as standard, right? So select the standard, and the description I will provide as water charges, the water supply charges. The line I will select 1, and the amount, if I select the amount as 750. Right, so 750 is the amount, and out here I will select that distribution combination, right? So distribution combination I have to select, and double click that. So out here I will select the distribution combination. So let us select search with water. Right, so I am selecting the water usage expenses. I can see that supply or usage expenses. Selecting that theme, say OK. So you can see the distribution combination that will come up, taking a bit of time. Here we are. So you can provide multiple rows using this. So let us provide 2-3 more. So I will provide one more line, quickly provide currency, copy the same. Right, so I will select that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, provide the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right, so amount is, and the invoice date, say it is on 2nd, this is on 3rd, this is on 4th, this is on 5th, this might be a 6th, this might be a 7th, select that, 8th, 9, select that as 10, 11, and this is 12. Right, so I have selected the same and select the water, other things, copy the same, copy the same, and I will select the copy the same. Right, so I will ready to upload that particular sheet. So let us upload the sheet, save and submit invoice import. Right, so select that and submit the same. On failure, the continue to upload the subsequent rows, I will select say OK. It will ask for certain parameters. I will select the business unit. So let us select the business unit. From the drop down, this is the BISP Solutions Inc. Miami, and I will say submit the same. Right, submit the same. So process has been, request ID has been triggered. So I will copy the ID, say OK, and we will navigate to the application to see the invoices. Right, so we will see the invoices. If I go to the schedule process, let us navigate to that. Under tools, the schedule process, search with that particular process number, that is process ID, search with that, and it has been succeeded, right? So let us navigate to the application now in Payables Invoice Workbench. So let us navigate invoices. To the manage invoices. Let us search with those invoices, that is, search with that. Just hold on. This is okay. Supplier site is, I will select equals to 1469, right? So that is the site 1469, right? Search with that. It is not reflecting. Why it is so? Let me check with the supplier name. Let me select that. Just hold on. Today is August, and the supplier name is, let me select supplier or party, contains when I say I'm copying the same. Search with that. Showing different invoice. Why it is not showing off? Just hold on. Should show off. Why it is not showing? So that is the business unit. I will select as BISP Miami. This prepayment is coming and the invoice which we have applied. So why it is not coming? The process has been successful. Just hold on. Let me check with that. Schedule process. Import process is successful. Let me check with that. Okay. Just hold on. The accounting date and submit the process. ID is not coming. Some issues, I think so. That is the thing. Let me check it out. Search with that. Succeeded. Just hold on. Let me select the invoice workbench again. It's not showing off. Manage invoices. Only one invoice is coming. There is some issue with that. Let me check once again. Let's hold on. Selecting the BISP and the accounting date is today. I'm submitting the same. It's not working. Some issue with this particular spreadsheet. Let me re-download that. Again, re-download that and fill that particular details, right? So I think so that is the issue. Let us re-download the sheet. Create invoice from spreadsheet. Select that. I'm selecting the save. Open that. Brown. Login with that credentials. Brown. Select the same. Say OK. Let me select the invoice number as 81 INV 8100 and select the currency as USD and invoice amount as 750 invoice date as today's date, and the supplier will be Win. Just hold on, we will double click that. Either you can provide the number or supplier. So I am selecting the supplier with VIN, Win dash VIN, Win. Select that 1469. Let's select, just hold on, yeah, supplier site. Select the supplier site. I'm selecting not blank, search with that, yes. Payment currency, I have to select the payment currency. There we are, USD, and the description is water charges. Line 1, item I am selecting, amount as $750. Right, so that is the $750. We had taken the invoice amount as $750, and the line type I have taken the $750, and distribution combination I will select that also. Out here I will select the water charges, search with that, water, say okay, there we are. Now we will submit the same. Right, so let us submit the same. Say okay. Selecting the BU, that is BISP Solution Miami, and I select the cancel. Just hold on. Here we are. And submit the same. So this ID has been generated. Let us move and check the invoice has been created in the application or not. So manage invoices. And let me check with that. Search. Why it is not being created out here? Let's hold on. Search with that. What is the issue with that? There is some issue with the application. Showing succeeded. Just hold on. Let me check it out. system is running very slow. Let me check with that. This is in interface, there is some errors are there, so total file it is showing off. I will see my particular business unit area. This are stuck. So why these are stuck? So see this invoice date received. Just hold on. This is the date, invoice image, received date, right? So that is the received date, invoice received date. So that is date format is issue with that date format. Just hold on. You have to correct this particular invoices out here. So it is saying the error. You can see the error has been shown in the interface. It has been stuck out here. So import error is what is the import error, right? So if I select that, say my business unit, I scroll down, this is my business unit, right? So we have imported this one. So it is saying the date invoice received, right? So that received date we have not given. So we have to provide the received date out here. Let me check the received date. So let us provide the received date, payment terms, invoice received date, that is this one, right? So let us provide the same in that. Just hold on. So this is the received date. So let me select and provide the received date, right? So let us provide the same out here. Provide that same. Out out here also in the second, this sheet also, the date of invoice received, right? So that is the invoice received date error is there. Let me fill that the same. That's so long. Right, so receive date is not there. So let me submit the same. Submit the invoice. You can mark the delete the same and out. I will submit and import. Right, so select that. Just hold on. The record were updated. 16 record updated. Say OK. Let me select the business unit as BISP and source as spreadsheet. This is my spreadsheet, right? So I use the spreadsheet and I submit the same. Say OK. Let me check in the application now. Manage invoices. Now you can see. Right, so we have imported the invoices and we have not provided the in the spreadsheet the invoice. So if you go out here, just hold on. If I just select the same and unhide, so you can see, yeah, the invoice date. This is the error, the invoice date, right? So we have not provided previous also, and similarly out here. So it is stuck in the interface, and we have downloaded the another ADFDI sheet from the application and through invoice workbench and rectify our error and upload the same. So this way you can upload the sheet using the ADFDI sheet, right? So that's it for today. Thanks for joining this webinar on AP related transaction process in Fusion application. Thank you.